my reference, you see here the thumb, it has got a joint in the middle, and I just want to start there. So I just create a circle where I want that joint to be, and then I put a fingertip loosely over the top there. I am placing this in now mostly to demonstrate how I build up a hand. I'm imagining a cylinder shape, and that sort of flattens around here, and then I've got little folds sticking out where I'm gonna just put a little bit of a dent into that part of the drawing. Then I describe the whole palm of the hand using a squarish shape here, and then I add the next bit of cylinder on for the finger joints. I describe with a circle, and then I know that will be where the finger bends. Now I am looking at the gap between this finger and the next finger, and I'm also bearing in mind the tip of the thumb as I outline here the next bit, and I can see it's just beyond that thumb, and I'm looking at a shape here now. It's a bit like that, and then here between the index finger and the thumb we've got this skin flap here that is being pulled across and creating this transition from the thumb across into the index finger. I realize that it can be hard to get the fingers all in the right place before you can start to experiment with the more expressive marks and loosen up around it. You kind of really need to just practice a little bit. So now as I notice on my reference how far roughly the finger is coming away from the thumb, and I'm also looking at the distance here. If I imagine this shape being drawn in, what shape I see between the finger and the index finger and the middle finger, and I think it's maybe something like that. So I can take that line away, but I'm trying to just let you into my head on how I gauge the shape of the hand, the shape of the fingers. So if you look at the thumb, it maybe comes up a little higher, and then you notice the ring finger. There's a gap that is roughly this shape. Again, I draw in the space between the fingers rather than being too fixated on the fingers, because that's a good way to trick your brain to draw in some better proportions. And because hands can change into so many shapes that they just won't feel real unless you really capture the right proportions. So then for the little finger in the end, again I'm looking at the gap between the middle finger and the little finger and drawing it in, and it's just imagining that these are cylinders, putting these little connecting joints in mentally. Now that I have come this far, I think it's time to bring out my pan pastel and start to make this feel 3D. I'm going to add a little bit of my usual swirly lines because I want there to be a bit of an expressive element here as well. And I will bring in the pan pastel and I will start to color it in. I'm going to use a makeup sponge, one of these, and I'm going to just give the whole hand quite a light gray pan pastel mark, filling in the hand. I'm looking at where the darker values are. Again, looking at it very much as shapes, not being too accurate about it, but the darkest bit runs obviously in the middle of the thumb here. So I'll put slightly darker in right in the middle of the thumb, coming up. And one trick to capture a sense of 3D is to create the darkest marks in the foreground of the thing that you're observing. In this case, it's a hand. And that works with this hand as well, because bits of the hand that is coming closely towards me are actually the darkest part of the hand. So I'm just gonna add that little bit of color into this finger, and you've got that little fold in the palm of the hand coming around there. So the wrist. Then I'm gonna color in quite faintly. I want to color in this finger as well, and this finger gets a bit dark in here, brightens up towards the edge of it. This is all quite soft touch at the moment, and often you can just create a circle right at the tip of the finger. A little ball shape there, I find works quite nicely, and then a little bit of form here wrapping around. I think I'm sort of starting to believe that this is a hand in 3D space. I always try to include a bit of an interpretation of what I see. I'm just going to try to get rid of my pencil outlining that I put in to kick off the drawing, because actually I don't want that to be an outline, as this reference is lit from around the sides. I want to try to follow that and not be breaking the illusion with an outline. I want to create an illusion of this hand being real in some way. Now just look at where I see the darkest darks. I'm trying to bring that darkest black into the drawing, but without it completely overpowering the whole thing. I'm thinking about the light wrapping around the sides of the finger. So the lightest part of the hand is around the edges. So if you look at my drawing versus the reference now, I just noticed that either my thumb is a bit too short, or this finger here is coming up too high. If I compare that and I look at this space between the fingers here, make it a little bit bigger now to bring, because you can see on the reference there's only a very small distance over the top of the thumb, and I think that bit of the part of the problem is because I have made the thumb too short, and a little part of the problem is that the fingers a little up too high. And now if I just do that, I'm capturing a little bit more of the shape that I see in the reference. If I look at the hand, this doesn't feel real, and I think maybe that can be quite hard to determine what the problem is there. But I think that we need a thumb light coming in on the side of the thumb and creating some wrinkles. The darkest bit running through the middle there. It also feels quite bumpy. And have I made it too long? I'm checking on this. I'm checking the gap here, looking at the reference to this little bright white crispy line running around the finger. Has to be quite thin, I would say. And then we've got these kind of wrinkles coming in here in the palm of the hand. There's quite a bit of shadow and light going on to create that sense of the hand folding in around itself, like this hand looks ready to play a musical instrument. That does it for today's drawing session. I just want to say I so appreciate your comments. This video was made based on a request, and I love to hear what you have to say. Also, anybody who hasn't subscribed yet, please do. Take care and all the best.